They say hell is down there, screaming, a dark place beneath our feet. This story begins with that rumor. It is a story that has been whispered for decades. It speaks of a hole drilled so deep into the earth that it broke through into something else. The truth is quieter, it is colder, and in its own way it is far more mysterious. The place is real. It is a scar on the face of our planet. A single, small, rusted metal cap bolted to the ground on a desolate, snow-dusted peninsula in northern Russia. Close-up of the cap, partly buried in snow. It is almost lost in the snow and the silence. It covers a wound that plunges 12 kilometers straight down. This is the Kola super-deep borehole. The story begins in a time of giants. The Soviet Union and the United States were locked in a great rivalry. They raced to the moon. They raced to build bigger bombs, and they raced to the center of the Earth. It was the 1970s, a time of grim determination and immense industrial power. While America looked to the stars with Project Apollo, the Soviets turned their gaze downward. Their goal was just as ambitious: to drill deeper than humanity had ever gone before. To be the first to touch the Earth's mantle. This was not just a scientific mission, it was a matter of national pride. On the remote and frigid Kola Peninsula, a city of science rose from the tundra. It was a testament to Soviet will. Huge, clanking machines were hauled across the frozen landscape. An entire infrastructure was built around a single point on the map. They brought their expertise, they brought their courage, and they brought the heavy, powerful tools of the age. The journey downward was a journey through time. The drill passed through layers of rock that told the story of our planet's ancient history. At first it was granite, hard, familiar stone. But as the drill descended, the world changed. The pressure grew immense. The temperature began to climb. At 3 kilometers, things were stable. At 5 kilometers, the work became a struggle. The drill string, a column of pipe stretching for miles, was under incredible stress. It was like trying to thread a needle from the top of a skyscraper. At 7 kilometers deep, they made a discovery that surprised everyone. The models had predicted a transition to basalt, but the transition never came. They were still in granite, but it was fractured. It was saturated with water. This was impossible, they thought. Water should not survive such pressure. It should have been squeezed out, but there it was, mineralized water, trapped for eons. It was as if the Earth itself was bleeding. The discovery rewrote their models, and the descent continued. 10 kilometers. 11. What does 12 kilometers deep feel like? It is a depth that defies human imagination. Picture yourself at the bottom of that hole. Above you is a column of rock and metal taller than 25 Empire State Buildings stacked end to end. The pressure is 4,000 times greater than at the surface. It is enough to crush steel. The heat is enough to boil water. There is no light. There is no air. Only the immense, silent weight of a planet pressing in from all sides. It is a realm of pure physics, a place of extremes where the familiar laws are bent into frightening shapes. So what did they find in this crushing, fiery darkness? Not monsters, not lost civilizations. They found something far more profound. Evidence of life. Plankton, 24 ancient species, perfectly preserved. Encased in organic compounds that survived incredible heat and pressure. Revolutionary. And then came the sound. This is the part of the story that leaves science behind and enters the realm of legend. The story goes that at the greatest depths, they lowered heat-resistant microphones into the borehole. They were listening for the groans and shifts of the Earth itself. The project manager, David Huberman, later spoke of what they recorded. For a few seconds, before the microphone melted in the heat, they captured a sound. It was not the sound of geology. It was rhythmic. It was complex. Some described a faint, chaotic chorus, a cacophony of voices, screams, tormented souls. The story exploded. A Finnish paper published it. Religious newsletters and tabloids spread it worldwide. The Kola super-deep borehole became known as the Well to Hell. New details were invented. A creature flying out, guards firing. Tales of workers driven insane by what they heard. These were fictions, powerful fictions. Years later, the recording was exposed as a hoax, lifted from a 1972 horror film and mixed with other noises. There is no credible evidence of screams. But they did record something, likely mundane, stressed rock, equipment echoing in the shaft, or perhaps something else. The truth was lost, but the legend endured. We must step back from the shadows. We must look at the facts. The scientists at Kola were geologists, physicists, engineers. They wrote in the sober language of data and observation. Their logs speak of rock composition, heat flow, pressure gradients. The borehole was not a quiet place. Immense stress on the drill string and on the surrounding rock created a symphony of pings, groans, vibrations. Geologists call it acoustic emissions, the sound of rock fracturing under pressure, the same phenomenon that whispers before earthquakes, and microphones at those depths. In 180-degree heat, electronics fail almost instantly. The project didn't end because of terror. It ended for practical reasons: heat nearly double predictions, bits melting, electronics failing. The cost of pushing even one more meter became astronomical. Then the Soviet Union began to crumble. Funding dried up. In 1992, drilling stopped at 12,262 meters. Today, only a sealed hole and a fading scientific city remain. And so we are left here, today, standing on this cold ground. The great machines are gone. The scientists have returned home. The proud Soviet Union that began this quest is now a memory, a chapter in a history book. All that remains is the ruin, the silence, the metal cap. A small, round manhole cover in the middle of nowhere. It is a quiet end to such a loud and ambitious story. It is easy to forget what lies beneath it. To forget the journey that ended right here, more alien than the surface of the moon. The hole is sealed, but the questions remain open. We learned our crust is wet, that it holds fossils of ancient life, and that Earth is hotter and more dynamic than we knew. But we learned humility. The Earth has its defenses, its heat, its pressure. After all the science and all the myths, what is really making that tapping sound?